and welcome. Now, as you can see from the title of the video, we are dyeing Easter eggs today, but I'm not going to do it in any way I've done before. I'm not using kits, I'm not using food coloring, I am going to try using kitchen ingredients. So I've got a few different like vegetables, spices, teas, whatever. I've got 6 colors that I'm gonna do. It's gonna take some prep, but I'm really wanting to try this technique. It just looks fun. Looks like the colors are really like different. And I thought maybe it would match my vibe a little better. I'm not really an Easter decorator. I don't really do pastels or flowers or any of that. But I wanted to kind of start decorating for more holidays than just Halloween and Christmas. I love those, but you know, it's fun to have some stuff throughout the year. So we are going to give this a try, see what the results are, and see if we can maybe just do a little something more to give them that little more dark aesthetic vibe. So let's go ahead and get going. All right, so let's go over our supplies. First of all, I have my eggs. These are just the shells. I don't really eat just plain hard-boiled eggs, and if they turn out nice, I kind of just want to keep them and safely store them. So these are just the empty shells, kind of like if you were gonna make cascarones. They're clean, empty, dry, ready to go. I have 2 dozen. I just collected them while I was cooking over the last few weeks. I knew I was going to be doing this, so I just planned accordingly. Additional to planning, I have onion skins, both red and yellow. I just swapped back and forth what kind of onion I was cooking with for the last few weeks so I could collect the skins. If you cook with a lot of onions, it's probably easier to get what you need. I've also seen tips like get them from your friends, get like the little dried up pieces that fall off at the grocery store. I don't think that there's a best way to do it, to be honest, unless you kind of plan ahead or, like I said, cook with a lot of onions. But I've got both. The yellow onion skin is supposed to be like this nice rusty looking orange color. The red onion skin is really interesting because I have seen so many different colors that they say that it can do. Most of the time when I see it, it's like a sort of maroony color, but results I guess vary because I've also seen articles where it said it could give you like even purpley blue. I don't know. This is going to be like I think surprise and based on the types of eggs you're using and who knows what conditions. So this is going to kind of be an experimental one for sure. The next ingredient I have is red cabbage. This is just what I have left over when I cook. It's pretty much just for me and my husband. So cabbage heads yield a lot of cabbage, and since I don't eat it all typically, I either plan a second meal or dye eggs with the leftovers. So I just planned a meal so that I had this. We're gonna chop that up, use that for one of our dyes. This one's really interesting because it looks like it gives any range from like teal to like deep blue. So I can't wait for this one. That's gonna be really pretty. Next up is beets. I have 2 here, but I think I might just need the one big one. We'll see. Maybe it'll be more pigmented if I use 2. But anyways, this is going to be like a nice pinky red purpley color. I think that'll be a nice addition to the colors. So we're using that. Now, this one's probably going to be a double round of dyes. Turmeric is going to give us a bright yellow color, which isn't really what I'm going for in my color collection, but I want to see what it looks like for one. And for another, I think that if we do the yellow and then into the red cabbage blue dye, we can get like a nice teal or green color. So that's my plan for this. And then the last one that I have is hibiscus tea. This is just the flowers. I was able to just pick up a nice sized bag at my grocery store, and this is supposed to be like a purpley gray tone. So I think that this is going to be really pretty for a more dark aesthetic vibe of Easter as well. So yeah, these are the 6 ingredients we're working with. It's super experimental and it's incredibly variable. Like I said, depends on your eggs, and I don't even know what all factors, but like every article I read is kind of like warning like what our eggs look like may not be what your eggs look like. So I'm curious to see how it all turns out. So let's go ahead and get prepping. Well, I guess really the only prepping I have to do is the cabbage and beets. So let's go ahead and get those chopped, and then we will be ready to start making our dyes. Alright, so I have 4 saucepans on the stove. Perfect amount since I only have 4 burners, and they all fit 3 cups of water, which is what I am using to make the dyes. I have like the wide mouth mason jars I'm going to be using for the actual dyeing, and they hold about 3 cups. This will boil down a little bit, so I think that that'll be the perfect amount for doing our dye baths. So I'm going to get all these up to a boil, and then we'll start adding ingredients. Alright, we have 4 pots of boiling water, so I'm going to start with our vegetables first. Let's get our cabbage into here. And that'll wilt as it cooks so it fits in better. Let's get our beets into here. Our onion skins. And our other onion skins. Alright. And I'll have to show you. Like it's almost instant. I'm already getting color. So it says to boil them for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. I think I'll start with 20. I'm also going to turn these down so they're just simmering. Alright, we are just going to let those steep. Okay, I just wanted to show you, it has only been a few minutes, and look already. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. That is gorgeous. And even like the beet, I've got a rinse spoon. Let's check out the onion. Like that is incredible. Now this is not maybe quite as exciting, but I think it'll still be a lovely color. We'll see what we end up with. All right, so I'm just gonna let these keep going then. All right, so there's just a few minutes left on these dyes, and they are looking gorgeous. So I'm gonna let them cool for a bit before we put them in the jars, and while they're cooling, what I'm gonna do is transfer a couple of them to bowls, and that way I can get the turmeric and the viscous flowers going, so that I can do them all at the same time. So I will be back once everything is fully brewed and cooled. Okay, so our mixtures have finally cooled enough to work with, so the last step is to just strain them. And I'm going to start with this. Oh my gosh, it is so pretty. Alright. And you really want to press the leftover bits to make sure you get all of the juice out. And I'm just doing this. I have a nice big measuring cup, so I know exactly how much liquid I ended up with. Because for every cup of liquid, so we have 2 cups once it's all said and done. Look at the color on that. I'm not sure how well it's coming through right now, but it's really pretty. So for every cup of liquid, you want a tablespoon of vinegar. And look how that changed. Oh my gosh, that changed the color so much. So hopefully that still ends up being on the blue side. All right, so that's one dye ready. I am going to do the same thing with all of the rest of them. So all of our eggs are now in there. I did increase the water, like I just diluted it a little bit just to get to a 2.5 amount so that the eggs were well covered. And then I just fussed with the eggs to get the air out of the inside so they weren't floating. So they are now all nicely submerged. Now, how long you want to leave them in is going to determine ultimately how vivid those colors are. I intend to leave these overnight about 8 hours, and then we will pull them out in the morning. But my understanding is the true color isn't really until it dries and cures. So we'll pull them out, see what they look like fresh out of the dye, and then we'll come back to them after they've dried as well. But for the moment, good night, guys. All right, good morning. It has been about 8 hours now, and I'm gonna pull out the eggs and see what they are currently looking like. There is one little concern that I have, but I think I know how I'm gonna fix it. And it's the fact that the eggs, where they're pressed up on the sides of the jar, it doesn't look like they've taken much color. But like I said, I think I know how I'm gonna fix that. So let's see what we're working with. So first we're gonna grab, I'm just letting the dye run out. Yeah, you can see there's a little white spot where it was pressed against. It is starting to get to be a really nice blue color, but I think it really does. I mean, I think that I saw like 24 hours as potential. Anyways, what I'm gonna do is just kind of rub the egg a little bit to model it. Because what it does is it actually rubs the dye off. Now you can see it's got swirls on it, and then you rinse it. And then we're gonna let them dry before putting them back in. And apparently this is kind of like dyeing it a second time. It'll, one, get darker, and two, with the modeling, it'll have 2 different layers of coloring on it. So I'm just gonna pull these out one at a time. The tea is like weirdly gunky. Oh, looks like one of the eggs in there broke a little bit. That's okay. Sometimes eggs break. Okay, that is super dark coloring on there. Let me rinse it first, actually. Oh, this is gonna be real cool. Okay, so it's got kind of a film on it, is what some of that darkness is. Okay, that is spectacular. Let me show you. Look at that. Oh, those are gonna be terrific. And then actually let me pull the red cabbage so you can see it in better light. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that wasn't all just water sound. All right, let me pull this next one. Let me erase. So far some pretty, like, I'm already super impressed by the hibiscus. So this is the red beet, and that's what it looks like coming out. Oh, that's interesting. This one has like some banding on it. So I'm going to do the same thing as with the cabbage. I'm just going to kind of rub it just a little bit. And then that'll also have some mottled patterning on it. And then next, this is our red onion. Ooh, that's a nice looking color actually. Check that out. Oh yeah, okay. And like I said, you can see where it was leaned up against the side of the glass, but if I once again rub it down, all right, there we go. I did just crack it a little bit. I'm gonna see if maybe I can repair it in the sealing process. And if not, maybe we just have some little bit broken eggs. It's okay. All right. This is the yellow onion now. And you can see where it was like kind of floating at the top a little bit. And this one also has some like interesting bands of color going on. I wonder if that's part of how like the shell is like formed. If it like creates that layer on there, like the layering. Because what, like a calcium deposit essentially? Alright, and now let's do the turmeric. This is actually a little bit paler than I was expecting to be, but that's okay. This one, I'm not going to rub as much because it's kind of just mottled itself. Alright, so these are our results. I'm going to go ahead and pull the rest of the eggs, get them rubbed down, rinsed off, and let them all dry. And then we'll come back to see what they look like when they're dry, and then put them back in the dye after that, because I just kind of wanted to compare the before and after. And then we'll probably let them sit for another good while longer, because I do want the colors to be super intense on these. So I will see you later with those results. All right, so I just got back from running errands, and it has been a few hours now that they have been sitting and drying. So let's take a look and see what they look like now. All right, we've got some really interesting speckling going on. It's kind of neat. The only ones that are a little lackluster are the turmeric ones, but like I said, I plan on over dyeing those so that they're green anyways. But this is where we're at. Unfortunately, one of the hibiscus ones was broken, but I just chucked, I had an extra egg, so I just chucked another shell in there. That one will just be a little bit different, but what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and put all of these guys back into their baths. I need to stir up the turmeric one. You can see it's kind of separated out. But yeah, these guys are going to go back in, soak for several more hours, and then I'll come back once they are once again dry. Okay, so it is actually the next day. We celebrated a friend's birthday yesterday, and by the time we got home, I wasn't ready to mess with the eggs. So I was like, what can it hurt to make them go a little longer, right? So let's see what those results are. About 20 hours more of dyeing, plus they've dried, and I have just like a few experimental ones that I did more things with that I want to show you. So let's take a look at them. Okay, so they are still in the same order. We have our cabbage, hibiscus, beets, red onion, yellow onion, and green onion. That would be an interesting one to do, but no, this is the turmeric. And I say green onion because you can see these eggs are green. We'll talk about that in a minute. So you can see that some of them look about the same, some look quite different, and some of them I almost feel like the cabbage ones look lighter in a way. I definitely did not get those vibrant turquoise results that I was seeing online. And I don't know if that's because my dye was not pigmented enough. Like, did they have a much more concentrated solution or what? But I'm not mad, especially this guy, I think is really pretty. So that light blue-gray sort of color I got is still perfectly acceptable for my aesthetic. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get those deep teal ones. But you know, maybe we'll try it again some other time. Maybe next year. We'll see. I am ecstatic, however, about the hibiscus ones. If you want goth or dark aesthetic Easter eggs, hibiscus tea, that is the one to go for. These are just beautiful. The dark coloring on it. And I almost think that what you should do is pull them out at different times, because some of the speckling that I had before I re-dyed them was also very lovely. So if you pull them out at different points so you get different amounts of darkness and speckling, I think that's the way to go to get yourself a really interesting looking basket. Now let's look at the experimental ones. So these three were all over dyed with the hibiscus because I was just curious about the results. And this one almost looks the same, excuse me, as if it had just been dyed in the hibiscus. This one I like. It is almost like a plum color, maybe more brown tone than really plum, but let's see, there we go. But that's a really lovely color too. Now the original ones are colored beautifully as well, but I might like take like this one or maybe this one, because these are so similar in color. I might just take like a couple more of them and over dye those as well. This one almost has more of that gray sheen, and I wonder if that is part of the like aging process, so to speak, of the tea. Because you can see here, now these two are freshly out. They've only been drying for a little while. This one is totally dry, and it looked closer to that green when it first came out, and now it's also got that sort of gray blue sheen. It is still definitely more green. Focus, camera. Come on. It's still definitely more green toned than just the hibiscus, but I'm curious if when these dry down the rest of the way, if they're going to also have that gray sort of cast. These ones went less time than this one, so we'll kind of wait and see. This is the turmeric one. I, once again, don't know if I just didn't have it concentrated enough, but it's still a really pale yellow. That one I might just go ahead and give the same treatment as these guys based on how they dry down. So those are our results. I think I have a really cool batch of eggs. I'm just gonna pretty much do some finishing on them before the final unveiling. And what that's going to involve is mostly preserving them. So from the inside, I'm going to just take some Mod Podge. I have just like a little bit left of this one, so I'm just gonna put some water in here to dilute it a bit so I can pour it into each egg, pour out the excess and let that dry. That's gonna help harden it from the inside and make it a little less fragile. And then on the outside, I am going to alter the look of them ever so slightly by just taking some gold paint and a toothbrush and just flecking it across the eggs. And then once that is dry, I will seal off the outside with my triple thick brilliant brush on gloss. This is the gloss that I used on the mushrooms for the skull project I did, and it is so shiny, and I'm wondering if it's going to kind of give it that wet rock, tumbled rock sort of vibe once it's painted onto these. Obviously, if you like the matte look, then find a matte sealer, but I think I'm going to try for something shiny. So we're gonna do all of that, and then you'll see the final result once everything is dried and arranged and all pretty looking. So I will see you then. All right, so those are the results, and I've got to say, I don't think I could be more thrilled. There was a little bit where it was touch and go, but I kind of felt like it was a trust the process sort of thing. And once that glaze went on, like the difference was really day and night for me. Like these are beautiful. They look like polished stone. Yeah, I'm in love with this. I think I might do some more experimenting. Maybe we'll do another round of them next year. But if you try it out, let me know and let me know the kind of results you got. It's so variable. Like you could follow all the same steps as me and still end up with completely different results. So I think that's pretty neat. It really makes for a unique experience. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video helps you to relax in peace, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.